Welcome back to SwitchCorner. My name is Alex and today we're going to be taking a look at Guild of Darksteel on the Nintendo Switch. This one, it's an action adventure with a dark fantasy theme, but is it worth your cash or are you going to be best on saving it and spending it elsewhere? Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. It's a story and it's a decent amount of text throughout this one. It tells the story of Sellsword, an immortal who is seeking purpose in life by joining the Guild of Darksteel. Essentially, you're this mercenary for hire and they will send you on a journey that includes elements of taking down evil, saving the locals, and then also investigating dungeons. These dungeons, they are all found below this town known as Ravenrock. The story was just okay. On the main menu it states it's story driven and do not spoil its streaming, but I wouldn't say I was wowed, and all in you're looking at around maybe 5 different quests to head out on, and yeah, they kind of then culminate in a relatively quick ending. So gameplay and the exploration part of this, it's leaning into a more cinematic vibe, so I think the classics like Flashback, or a more modern example maybe Ministry of Broadcast. You know, it's that almost sluggish control scheme to a certain extent, but not in a bad way, more as in by design. Where it stands out though for me, it's the combat. This is not hack and slash though, but I'd rather describe it as something along the lines of maybe combo driven turn-based. Now the idea, you clash with an enemy on screen, that throws you into a one-on-one encounter. There's no movement here, rather there's a block which you need to time to your enemy's animations. That's used with the tap of a B button, and then Y is attack. As you progress though, then you'll be unlocking 6 different moves. These are basically combos, so yes, you're going to be using a combination across the Y, X and A buttons. These can then be accessed via a handy in-game menu. Likewise though, different combos result in different status effects to your opponents, which are represented by a colour on screen. If the colour changes a certain way, a certain attack in your repertoire will deal more damage. So I will point out here, I didn't feel a need to use this myself honestly, and there's also no difficulty options to speak of in the game, so I actually see no reason of returning and testing my skill in this department. That it seems like it was almost reserved for a hard difficulty that is yet to exist. Combat though, it really is just learn the game's enemies, and there's about 10 of them I would say. Learn their attack patterns though, get your block down and wait for those windows of opportunity. Now I did however notice spamming the block button 9 times out of 10 worked, and you can also block during attack animations as well, making deaths to my opponents a whole lot quicker. I actually gotta be honest, I really enjoyed the combat here. There was something incredibly satisfying about its combo system, and getting that timing just right alongside the different inputs, you know, and the cooldown time you'll see in the lower left corner of the screen kind of like displays over the face buttons, it goes red. It was incredibly entertaining. These combos then can also be leveled up, and that's frequent as enemies drop blue gems, but I focused on one particular move that healed me as I attacked, and that kind of got me the whole way through the game. The only other thing, you cannot avoid enemies, you must pretty much fight them all. If they're in your path, there is no way around them. The game loop though, it's explore this relatively small town, talk to the locals who sadly repeat themselves from near beginning to end outside of maybe a few, get a job from the guild though, head to location and then kill everything. I died once in my time with the game, and that was because the game didn't tell me there was 4 damage from a certain height, and I managed to kill myself instantly. Luckily throughout the game though, you can pray at statues, and these not only heal you but also act as a checkpoint. There's also no map in game, then you need to remember the names of these different dungeons, but it's not difficult. It is a small location, and the game then has blue arrows on screen at least advising you where you can and can't go when you are in these dungeons as well. Shortcomings then, it feels a little light on features. Tapping X reveals an inventory system, and I was like, oh cool, loot, health packs, usable items, you know, all of that good stuff. That is not the case. It shows a few things that you maybe find in levels. So let's say you find a key to a door. I didn't really once need to look at anything in here, and it refreshes with each mission. There's nothing here you can actually physically use on your character. I was also hoping for different weapons, but what you start with, you will carry to the end game. Likewise then, leveling up moves, those combos, you know, with those gems. A little more description would have like helped guide my decision on what I level up next. Like, what difference does that make? What does that like next level do to this particular move? The game gives you no information, so I just chose one and stuck with it. Other problems then, the platforming is solid, but the design seems to be lots of gaps that I never could quite make. They always felt just out of reach, meaning I would need to like drop down a ledge, transition to another screen often, honestly, because this is a single screen action game. I'd need to walk slightly across and then press up to scale upwards, and you need to get that lining just right to make that jump up. It slows the pace of the game down for sure. I also had an issue with one enemy, these red bats, that the timing of their final hit on me, the animation just seemed slightly off to when my character took damage. Also then at the end of dungeons, it pads out the runtime by often making you travel all the way back to the entrance. Sometimes it would maybe have a shortcut, like think Dark Souls style, but even then, when you do get out of the dungeon, you still need to then run all the way back to the guild to kind of report back. It's backtracking that feels like padding, because you literally just hold like left down on the D-pad or the joystick and yeah, ignore the game for a couple of minutes. In these moments as well, I will say that's kind of surprising, because I still managed to beat the game in just over 2 hours, so it's not the longest of adventures. Basically with this one, I enjoyed the game still, even with the complaints, you know, bite-sized dark fantasy adventure. I have time for that, especially with its spin on combat, but I also see a ton of potential that could have pushed this formula forward. Graphically speaking, it's old school pixel work. I love it myself. They got a good amount of detail and variety in here. I always loved the cinematic style adventures and their use of animation, and that's true here, where the character feels very much alive. Enemies, they are repetitive honestly, but that's also the point, so you can figure out, you know, their attack patterns, but they still could have done with more. With so few here, they still lean into, let's change the colour of their shirt and now they are stronger all of a sudden. That's never really worked for me personally. Finally, the text, and there's a decent chunk of it, no issue on a TV myself. It's got this kind of italic, almost pixelated style to it all, but there's no size options in this game. The conversations, they were mostly fine for me handheld, but some areas like the interface, and especially the combos in that lower left corner, they were real difficult to work out honestly. Also, the same can be said for enemies like the bats, which are basically just dots on the screen. It is sharp in handheld mode at least, but options are for sure needed, and this game just doesn't have even a pause menu, never mind an options menu. Audio finally, and not a huge amount to it, so we're going to keep this quick. Some minor attack sounds, some hit sounds, jumps, and then text sounds, all relatively retro in their design. Then the music, mainly ambient, with the occasional environmental piece built into it, so think like a church bell ringing. But I actually really enjoyed the music. It's for sure more tone than anything else, but it loops in some rhythm on occasion as well that really adds to the intensity. Especially, I like the looping battle music. I heard it a lot, of course, and I still enjoyed it, so that's pretty much like a big compliment. The only minor complaint really, the game does go silent just occasionally, in the sense the music just disappears. It can feel a little bit empty in these moments, but they were also rare. So the final verdict, and this is a funny one, I've listed my fair share of complaints, but at the same time it feels like a good start that has a lot of room to grow now, but it's just falling short. Really enjoyed the combat though, and the platforming for the most part, it was decent. It's just let down this game by a lack of difficulty options, meaning no reason to replay it even though it's only 2 hours or so long. The mechanics then, the platforming, they can be a little off with those jumps. There's a lack of variety in its enemies at times. There's an inventory system that is near always pointless, and then there's just a general lack of depth to the overall kind of formula. It's that example of a game that has a ton of potential that it's not quite realizing. I still though had fun with it. That's the funny thing about this. The bits I did like kept me going, and the story, as I say, like it's nothing special, but I enjoyed its like take on good versus evil and almost personal growth journey. A slightly above average, a 6 out of 10 from me, and I hope we get to see a sequel where they take what they have here and now start to build on it, because the potential, I feel like it is easy to see it and it could be something special. There's definitely like this hint of Devolver Digital to it almost that I couldn't shake from beginning to end, and that's for sure a compliment. With that though, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Now if you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we will do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.